Hey everyone! Welcome back! I am back today with more RWBY and something a little bit different for you guys today. Today we are going to be checking out the World of Remnant episodes that went along with Volume 4. So you guys, if you're joining me early today, you know just what it means. It means you are one of my awesome patrons. Thank you so much, and as always, I'm sending up those big old hugs right through that screen. And if not, still thank you for joining me today. I'm glad you're here. I do hope you'll consider supporting me that way. The link to my Patreon is going to be in the description down below. So, I won't say a whole lot about Volume 4 here because I said a lot at the end of my reaction to the finale, and I imagine I will say a lot at the beginning of my Volume 5 reaction, which I cannot wait for. But I will just say that I really enjoyed it, and at this point I have already reacted to the soundtrack, which I adored. But again, I won't get into specifics because technically speaking, the World of Remnants take place throughout the season. So just in the event, the random off chance that somebody watching this is just watching for the one that happened between one episode and the other and has not seen the entire volume yet, I think that's unlikely. But just in that event, I won't go into details about Volume 4, but I can tell you that I loved it. I think it was just right. It was it hit the points it needed to, and it had the tone that it needed to for being the volume that comes after Volume 3. In my opinion, I felt that way. So I am now between Volume 4 and Volume 5. Again, I just reacted to the soundtrack. And I'm going to be watching these World of Remnants just to kind of get the fun world building. After this, I will be doing the character shorts. And that will be my final extra stuff before jumping into Volume 5. So you guys, what do you say we go ahead and get started? See what the World of Remnant episodes have for us today? Let's go. So this one's called Vale. I think they're all about different places in this one. Vale, yep. Gonna get to learn about Vale and a bunch of other places, apparently.
Well, school's definitely out. Let's see if we can't all learn a little something.
Okay.
Welcome to the World of Remnant. Not the best place to live, but depending on where you're staying, it can get a little easier.
It's a place.
Towns and villages that pop up as fast as they fall. The farms have menagerie, but the sweet spots are Vale, Mistral, Atlas, and Vacuo.
Okay.
4 kingdoms of the modern era.
What's over here?
In its own little way.
What are the other?
About Vale.
Okay. Whatever
In
you
the
say.
grand scheme of things, Vale's pretty well guarded. It rests on the northeastern end of the world's largest continent, Sanus. Like most successful kingdoms, Vale's survival over the years can mostly be attributed to prime real estate. Its front is protected by steep mountains, and its back is against waters too shallow for any real threat to pop out of.
Okay.
Not to say I haven't heard some crazy fish stories.
Oh, crazy fish
Aside from
stories.
the main city, which the kingdom's named after, the Vale territory also extends to several neighboring cities farther along the northwest coastline, as well as a small island named Patch. Nice place to raise a family, if you're into that sort of thing. Of course, all attempts to extend the kingdom's reach past the mountains and farther into the mainland have been colossal failures.
Which
But, like I said, in the grand scheme of things, Vale ain't half bad. Regular climate, natural barriers, and some serious border defenses means the citizens of Vale can spend less time worrying about survival and more time just living their lives.
That's nice.
With the fall of Beacon, everyone's a little more worried these days.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, they're... Oh...
Hope you enjoyed that peek behind
that was awesome. This says no roosters were harmed. I'm sorry. I just love stuff like that. All right. So, let me load up the next one and then we'll talk. Okay, so I have to say that one gets extra points for being narrated by my man, whose voice I could listen to all day, personally. I would listen to him, like, just read just about anything. And I know for most of that, he was just kind of reading, like, random facts. Not random, it was actually really interesting, but I'm just like, he just makes anything sound fun. I don't know when I got, like, such a hardcore crush on Crow, but I don't know. He's something. So, all right, some of that we knew. I feel like they had mentioned that because of just kind of the geography of Vale, it made more sense. And we know that other, it's nice to actually have the visual of, like, when they venture out a little bit more. Okay, this is too far now, towards any kind of grim threats, everything like that. So that's why, some of the places we've seen did not make it. But it's nice to just kind of have it all laid out. And I gotta say, like, at first I'm looking at it like, oh, okay, cool. And then I'm like, this is a whole thing that somebody thought up. Like, all that geography, all that, like, that whole map, like, is a made-up world that somebody made up. And that's pretty impressive. You could tell, like, the thought and love that goes into the show. So there were a few places on the map that we weren't talking about. And I'm wondering, like, are those places we've seen and I just have never seen it on a map before? Or, are those places we don't know yet and they're going to get into? I don't know. Maybe someone can clear that up for me because, so also I feel inclined to kind of get in on the in-joke about the map that, like, oh, somebody must actually found the map because we're looking at a map now. So, all right, guys, let's jump into the next one, which is Mistral. This should be good. I hope they're all Red Bay Crow. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go. This one's Mistral. Who's gonna be narrating? I imagine they have, like, a different one every time. Sorry, there's Buffy fur flying everywhere.
Right. Where were we? The east of Santa is Remnant's second largest landmass, Anima.
Okay.
That's where you'll find the kingdom of Mistral. Of the four kingdoms, Mistral has the most controlled territory, meaning you'll find a wider variety of ecosystems and lifestyles. Trust me, this place is something for everyone.
Oh.
Better or worse.
Oh.
The high society
what I was gonna ask.
Mistral are known worldwide for their contributions to fashion, architecture, theater. All the things that make the world pretty and tolerable.
Yay.
But its lower class has got a fame of its own. Mistral's home to the biggest black market on the planet. Need something that's hard to find? Got someone that's hard to kill. They can help, provided you've got the lien to pay for it. There's one common thread that links all these people together, though, and that's their respect for nature, particularly the sea and the sky. The natural resources and geography of the area impacted Mistral's culture and technology in a big way. Its first settlers found shelter high up in the wind-carved cliffs, and as their population grew, so did their ability to utilize the land to its fullest potential. Real bunch of forward thinkers.
That's pretty cool.
The bigger the kingdom, the harder it is to govern. There's a reason traders and thieves flock to Mistral. The main city's right under the council's eye, sure, but places like Windpath and Kuchinashi start to get a little farther out of sight.
I wonder if we'll see
plenty of
those.
Places to hide in Mistral.
Interesting.
You gotta know where to look.
Something tells me he does. He does know where to look. He said Crow has seen some stuff. Like, that's for sure. All right. I'm so happy he's narrating all of them. Can I just say? All right, let me load up the next one and then I'll give you my thoughts. Okay, so I have to say it is nice having this all laid out, because there are a lot of things I feel like they've mentioned in passing throughout the show, and that's cool that they can kind of show us and kind of reveal it through the story. But it is nice when you're talking about an entirely detailed world, fictional world that, like, and again, like, the love that goes into that is spectacular. But it is nice to kind of have it, like, laid out too, like, plainly, just so we're all on the same page. So Mistral, as we know, is where a lot of our friends are headed. And it sounds like there's a lot of really awesome stuff, and there's a lot of really shady stuff. Kind of like, you know, like the real world. Lots of great arts, culture, you know, the settlers there. It sounds like they had quite a bit of ingenuity and everything. But, you know, like he was saying, there's a lot of places to hide. And there's a lot of other stuff going on. So I'm sure we'll get to see a lot of that firsthand. So, all right, guys. What do you say we jump into the next one? Let's go. Please be Crow narrating again. I think it is. I think he's going to do all of them. I hope so. I can hear him, like, drinking between the last one. Atlas. This should be good, because we've seen a lot of Atlas now. Or we've seen quite a bit this volume anyway.
I suppose it's time we talked about the fine people at the top of the world.
Oh.
Atlas is Remnant's youngest and arguably most successful kingdom.
Okay.
It's a bit of a special case.
Oh, how
See,
so?
before the Great War, there was no Atlas. There was Mantle. At some point in time, a group of settlers were crazy enough to venture out into the northernmost continent of Solitas. I guess when you're that desperate, a frozen hunk of rock doesn't seem like such a bad place to call home. As a matter of fact, the harsh weather conditions proved to be just as useful as the mountain ranges when it came to keeping the creatures of Grim at bay.
Oh, Frozen Grim!
People of Mantle
Frosty Green.
flourishing. Humanity's got a neat trick up its sleeve, though. Whenever we're faced with a problem, our inclination is to find a solution. The cold climate of Solitas forced its settlers to adapt. They developed a more advanced technology, and they did it faster than the rest of the world.
Because they had to.
They had to survive.
Because they had to.
But it was the Great War that really kicked things off.
Okay.
New forms of dust application and weaponry allowed Mantle to expand. More and more territory was set aside for dust mining and research. The territory beside the kingdom's combat school, Alcius, was the most opportune area to construct a new R&D facility. But by the time things were all said and done, it would be much, much more.
Because we know that
Alcius was reopened as Atlas after the Great War to house many of the warriors now seeking guidance in an effort to give back to the citizens. Mantle applied all sorts of new dust techniques and technologies it had used in the war to beef up the Academy's campus.
Okay.
School grounds expanded faster than they could have imagined.
Wow.
They even helped to better secure the surrounding areas. It wasn't long before the kingdom's military moved in,
And that's why.
Facilities. Eventually, even residential areas started popping up.
Ironwood and
Time, it became apparent that the city of Mantle was living in Atlas' shadow. So the decision was made to move the kingdom's capital. Mantle was old news, and the kingdom of Atlas was born. A golden age of prosperity, they called it. Those left behind in Mantle would probably tell you that it was the coldest winter they ever knew.
Interesting. I was not aware of that. Maybe they had mentioned that, like, in passing about Mantle, but I didn't realize that. So I wonder if we'll get into that a little bit more. I'm trying to think now if they mention it, like the time that we've spent in Atlas in this volume, if they had mentioned Mantle at some point. And it probably, like, I didn't know what it was, so it probably just, like, went over my head. Maybe if they did, let me know, because now that I know that, I can go back and kind of, like, have a new appreciation for it. Interesting. So that's why Atlas is so like technologically advanced and everything. Also, all the dust and everything, we know that Weiss's dad, the company is the company is a dust company. So that kind of makes sense that that's kind of the hub of a lot of the technological advancements of the world. And it's also a northern and very snowy and very cold, which is why like the whole Schnee family has like a wintry theme. Very cool. All right, guys. What do you say we jump into the very last one? Which apparently is called Vacuo. That should be interesting. This should be good. I feel like I don't know a whole lot about it.
Now, if there's one kingdom that's had it harder than the people of Mantle, it's Vacuo, the last of the 4 great kingdoms. The western end of Sanus is a barren and desolate wasteland. Long ago, before man went and ruined everything, it was a paradise.
Really?
The center of the vast desert was an oasis unlike anything you'd ever seen. A jungle bursting with natural resources, geographical defenses, and the world's largest recorded deposit of dust.
So what happened?
That survived the journey across the scorching sands, settled down in this little hidden gem, and over time the kingdom of Vacuo thrived. Unfortunately, comfort breeds weakness. The rest of Remnant had to learn and adapt in order to survive. Vacuo's ancient society kicked back and lived a life of complacency.
Okay.
Other, more developed kingdoms set their eyes on everything Vacuo had to offer.
They weren't prepared.
Couldn't do anything to stop them from taking it.
Okay.
Years
So it became
of
like a
human conflict,
war
unrestricted
site.
mining, and ecological disasters have changed Vacuo. The paradise that was once there is practically indistinguishable from the surrounding deserts. Citizens live in makeshift homes, uprooted and traveling frequently in response to the fleeting resources and occasional attacks from the creatures of Grimm.
Oh my god!
After the Great War, a formal government was finally established. But at that point, the folks living in Vacuo didn't much care to uphold its laws, making the Shade Academy the only real source of order in the kingdom. But order isn't everything. Vacuo may not be as prim and proper as the other 3 kingdoms, but it's still standing.
Oh, well.
People there have a mutual respect for one another.
Okay.
See, there's really only one unspoken rule in Vacuo.
What's that?
If you can survive here, then you're welcome here. So there you have it.
Wow.
Veil, Mistral, Atlas, and Vacuo. You know, Oz would always say that the 4 kingdoms were a representation of what mankind is capable of when working together. Ever the optimist. We sure could use him now.
Hope you enjoyed that peek behind the curtain.
Well, we know. Well, I won't get into it because I just said I'm not going to get into a lot of Volume 4 stuff. But, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Ozpin is all I'll say. Okay, so that's very interesting. First of all, total bonus points for getting it narrated by Crow, who has the nicest voice. I'm so glad they got him. Also, that was really interesting. And that last line about the 4 kingdoms being kind of representing what man is capable of when, or what they could be capable of and what they are capable of. It makes it makes you wonder, like, putting them all together if that represents something more, you know? Because I notice on this show we love to have things split up into, like, these little concepts or these little, you know, like the four maidens or the relics, or I wonder if there's like something more to that. I don't know. This, I could just be me reaching, but so I am glad that I saw those, because I do feel like I have a better understanding now. When they mention like vacuole, I'll be like, oh right, vacuole is the one with like desert and sand, and I know a little bit of the history now, and I know that it's gonna be a little tough to get by there, and you know, we already kind of knew because we've seen Atlas a lot. Like Atlas and Val, I feel like we've seen more of. Mistral and Vacuole, we haven't seen as much of. But, you know, now I know, like, oh, okay, Atlas, you know, military tech, and so forth. So I won't recap all of them because you just you just saw. I don't need to recap it all for you, but cool, guys, very cool. Glad I checked them out. Makes me very curious for some things coming down the road. I wonder if we'll be getting into all this a little bit more. So, all right, next is the shorts, you guys. I believe it's our other three friends from Team RWBY, Weiss, Blake, and Yang. And so I'm actually going to go jump into those right now. I don't know how I'm going to release them. I'm probably just going to end up releasing them like all together, but I don't know. So it's possible you will be seeing me in a few days. Or it's possible you'll be seeing me in a few minutes. I'll be seeing you in a few minutes. It's wibbly wobbly, guys. Don't ask me how time works. It's over my head. So, all right, guys. I just love the show so much. I love the thought and care and detail that goes into it. I will see you guys in the shorts. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please be sure to join me next time. We will watch it together. Bye for now, guys.